Hello, everyone, and welcome to Evolving from AutoCAD to Revit. My name is Juliana, and I work in marketing here at MicroCAD. And today's presenter is Andrea Gonzalez. By the end of the webinar, you will leave knowing if you should do the moving, when you should do it, and which are the advantages and disadvantages of each program. Throughout the webinar, you can ask a question at any given point on the left-hand corner. You can ask Andrea to revisit a step or ask any AutoCAD or Revit questions. This is your time, and we want you to make the most of it. And in the upper left-hand corner, we have links to our social media, website, and YouTube channel. So make sure to check our YouTube channel. We post all of our webinars there at the end, so you can share with colleagues or rewatch it on your own time. And without further ado, we'll pass it on to Andrea.
Hi, Juliana. Could you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrea Gonzalez, and I am an AEC application specialist. On behalf of MicroCAD Training and Consulting, I would like to welcome you here today in our Evolving from AutoCAD to Revit webinar. Today, we are going to talk about a major trending topic. I am talking about making changes. It is well known that the pandemic has changed our lives. The situation has faced us with unknown situations, and this has prompted us to change our way of thinking, to open our minds to new ideas, to find new ways of doing things, and reinvent ourselves. The way we do our job in the AEC industry has not been the exception, and this industry has found necessary to adjust its methodologies to meet the global productivity demands and adapt to the new standard of remote work and decentralized digitalization of data. So we could ask ourselves, what's the best software to help reach all the goals we just have mentioned? AutoCAD has been known for many years, but we also have seen new methodologies taking relevance, growing little by little, and positioning themselves strongly in the market. We are talking about Revit. But are they the same? What will be the cost-benefit balance? How the transition should be done without affecting the productivity? Is it Revit and BIM technology right for your organization? What about the concerns of your team and clients that are still CAD users? So let's go step by step. We are going to see a pair of basic concepts, the main difference between Revit and AutoCAD, why to make the switch and its benefits, and how to make the switch based on some tips. And at the very end, we'll have a space for answering your questions. So let's start with the concepts. Although AutoCAD has been known for many years in the industry, more precisely 40 years if I am not wrong, and it is still the reference software for CAD design. So CAD is technology for design and technical documentation, which replaces manual drafting with an automated process. It helps to draft construction documentation, explore design ideas, and visualize concepts in 2D. And AutoCAD is a tool for CAD. And we are talking about Revit, we open the door to a new concept, BIM. BIM is building information modeling, and it is an intelligent 3D model-based process that involves digital representation of physical and functional characteristics of a facility. It is based on an intelligent model and enabled by a cloud platform. BIM integrates structured multidisciplinary data to produce a digital representation of an asset across its life cycle, from planning and design to construction and operations. And Revit, it is a tool for BIM. What does this mean? This means that we are talking about a change of technology. Having this in mind, we can move to our next topic. So let's see the main difference between Revit and AutoCAD. So the first one is the purpose. So AutoCAD was created for the public in general and it doesn't have any BIM feature. Revit was intended, thought, written, and released based on the needs of the AEC industry. These are a very good reason out of the many to start thinking about making the change. This was made specifically for the AEC industry. The next one is the workflow. AutoCAD has a linear workflow. It is the traditional design process where you do your construction documents independently. Typically, those construction documents include plans, sections, elevation, details, and notes, and sometimes a 3D model that also has to be created by separate in addition to these documents. Revit is multi-directional because everything, all those plans, sections, elevations, details, and notes are created simultaneously based on a 3D model. Revit lets you work in a 3D model while automatically generates multiple viewpoints, translating changes across all aspects and allowing multiple users to work on the same design at once. These behind-the-scenes tools let you concentrate on creating without worrying whether the rest of your design will catch up. The third one is the design tools. So AutoCAD is very similar to drawing on a piece of paper and what you are going to use there in AutoCAD is mainly 2D lines. You will not have more than lines and circle. So all your drawings will be geometric representations of elements with any data on it. So all that you can get from those plans are prototypes and a real world representation. And Revit offers real-time information. By modeling a building on a Revit software, you will get data on the real size, materials needed. You will know how they interact with each other. You can estimate prices too. Revit elements are smart. The software recognizes the elements, the walls as walls, the column as columns, the dots as dots, while AutoCAD manages all the elements as blocks with names, with any information on it. The next one is the way of making changes. So AutoCAD is totally manual and Revit has instantaneous modification. So in AutoCAD, if you wish to make some corrections in your project, you will most certainly need to conduct the same operations in every draft you have. Due to this lack of connectivity between different functions, your work gets significantly slower and starts to lack in quality. Revit is perfect in terms of modifications. By moving one object, necessary calculations are made automatically, and the final specifications are modified and provided to you. The modifications that could take hours to achieve on AutoCAD would take just seconds on Revit. The next one is the analysis data. So in AutoCAD, you can export basic engineering data such areas, some analysis. You can export them by being analyzed by third-party tools. And we know that CAD MEP, you will be able to analyze systems, but it's a very tedious process. With Revit, the users can access to performance analysis of their designs in real-world conditions. And it is recognized for its ability to provide quick and correct calculations. The specifics and information on materials, facilities, or things in general used in the project are always of a vital importance to the person in charge of planning. Schedules and reports of the information are stored in the model. The next one is the collaboration. Oh, sorry. The next one is the collaboration. So in AutoCAD, you only can create shared views for visualization and doing markups, but it still doesn't allow two people working on a file at the same time. Revit actually allows multiple users to work on the same file simultaneously while periodically synchronizing all edits to a live central file. It can be on the same server or even in a different country to work in a single central model. On-site or in-person meetings are no longer required. Teams on opposite sides of the country can make decisions based on the model. The next one is the class detection. With AutoCAD, it is practically impossible to detect any collisions during your development or examination processes. It must be done by hand and involves a constant back and forth between all the parties. With Revit, you will be able to perform collision detection with a function that works quite well and allows to export data for using it in a more specialized tools like I forgot the name, like Navisworks. And offers a big advantage. The structural, mechanical, and electrical models can be linked to the main architectural model to detect and track in real time any clashes between elements. The next one is the 3D visualization. So in AutoCAD, you can render views to get realistic representation, but it must be selected views. And you should do it one by one and by hand. Given that AutoCAD separates rendering from your data, as a result, it costs more time and money to create high quality renders. With Revit, it is easier to create renderings and model walkthroughs. Every aspect of the models come from the data sheets you implement, and by one click, you can get whatever view of whatever location you want to see. The next one is the interface. So AutoCAD has a huge array of tools and features. Once you open it, the number of features and ribbons can be intimidating for you. It is possible to clean it up and keep your workspace manageable without compromising your comprehension of the interface. And the specialized tools come by separate. So you have the plain AutoCAD, you have the architectural AutoCAD, the civil AutoCAD, the MEP AutoCAD, and Revit is very simple and straightforward, cleaner and friendly regarding interface, and all the disciplines are in the same software. So you will, in the same software, in the same interface, you will find the ribbon for structural, for mechanical, for plumbing. Everything is all in one. The second one is the flexibility. So AutoCAD has much more flexibility given we are handling with lines. We can fit the lines and elements in our drawing, but that doesn't ensure that the drawing will work in the real life. With Revit, and given its parametric elements, it is what it is. So if it doesn't fit in your model, in your drawing, it will not fit in the real life. So it doesn't offer the same preformed drawing and freedom as AutoCAD, but it offers real-time information. And the last one is the learning curve. So learning AutoCAD is hard. Learning AutoCAD 3D is harder. So if you already have learned one or both, moving to Revit will be a piece of cake for you. According to the user, Revit is easier to learn than AutoCAD because of its cleaner interface. So much of the 3D work is generated automatically for you. You provide the basic parameters and let the 3D magic happen. Did you know that AutoCAD is one of the most difficult software products to learn? So believe me, if you can learn AutoCAD, you can learn Revit. So let's move to the next question. Why to make the switch? So let's start with better quality work. So Revit by itself delivers the tools for better project outcomes associated with BIM. But when you deploy Revit as part of the AEC collection, its power significantly increases. The collection includes software and services that work with Revit to help you fully explore ideas, carefully evaluate design options, and make well-informed design decisions. For example, you can understand your design and make smarter design decisions using Autodesk Insight cloud-based analysis services to optimize and iterate during the design phase. Things like sun and shadow studies, you can run cost estimates, monitor changes in performance over the course of the project, and more. Let's move to the better approval time. Clean will be clearest in the information you are trying to transmit. 3D visualization along with rendering increases multi-party communication and understanding. You can communicate your vision much more effectively with a 3D model than a 2D CAD drawing for sure. There is a higher likelihood that the architect and the building owner will see eye to eye when reviewing a 3D model. Construction crews can clearly identify their goal and steps along the way. How many change orders have been caused as a result of not interpreting the 2D CAD drawing properly? Let's move to less time doing changes. Or let's generalize all the less. Because of the intelligence and interoperability of the software, the risk of data translation error is minimized, resulting in smaller and faster design processes. As BIM has evolved, the advantages had gained momentum. Time saved translated into cost savings and fewer errors leads to reduced risk and work. Given that any change in your model are automated across multiple sheets and views, everything is updated automatically without you having to do a single thing. And you and I both know it's not like in AutoCAD. One simple change in AutoCAD and you have to update all the details across the sheets, the views, elevation sections, etc. And what if you miss one? No, I want to think about what you are going to do with all your free time once you make the move to Autodesk Revit. So less time doing changes, less construction errors, less material waste, less production time, and less safety incidents. And let's talk about the better predictability and approach to budget. So having BIM, we are able to do a more organized and clearer initial plan. Everything turns into a better productivity and therefore relief on financial pressures, improving our cash flows and generation or more profits. What could be better? Let's move to the next big topic or question. How to make the switch. So tip number one, open your mind. Making the move to BIM is the right decision, just like AutoCAD was 40 years ago. Imagine what the world would be like if important people as Albert Einstein or Martin Luther King and the scores of others who have changed the world had thought this way. Don't be afraid of change and turn the change in a chance. As this image is saying, the same old thinking, the same old results. So change only success if it is clear that at the end of the inevitable period of behavior, things will get better, and that's benefits led change. Tip number two, think about your team. In order to deliver change effectively, the responsible for sponsoring or leading change initiatives have to develop and communicate a vision emphasizing benefits that resonate with the recipients of the change. It is not enough just to have a vision that works for a select few. Change leads also need to be clear that the change initiative is a journey. People impacted by the change need to understand that benefits will come but will not be apparent immediately, and definitely will not be achieved without some effort on their part. The opportunity to coach through change occurs wherever I'm given the We have always done it this way, defense. Definitely one of the main barriers to behavioral, cultural, and process change. So help your people to overcoming that barrier. If they learn AutoCAD, for sure they will be more than qualified to learn Revit. But be patient, give them confidence, the support, and the time for the learning curve. And help your team to realize that their individual marketability and worth in the job market will go up as their BIM expertise develops. Tip number 3, train your team. Training is the key to success. Train your team in BIM before switching from AutoCAD to Revit. The web has plenty of resources to help your team to understand BIM. However, you may want to obtain a professional certification as well. There is no standard course of BIM, as each provider has its own take on the methodology. Research the firm that suits your company needs and use your consultant to get your staff up to speed. Train your entire team and don't assume an AutoCAD expert will enjoy an easier transition. And there can be anything worse than jumping into the pool when you don't know to swim and without a life jacket. So this is the best way for being successful: training and practicing. The tip number 4, hire a BIM CAD manager. So having a specialized person for helping you in the transition will help you a lot. Revit and BIM technology is bigger and more powerful than we think. And more than knowing how to use the software, there should be someone behind for supporting non-engineering tasks, such the internal settings and behavior of the platform. For example, I have worked as a Revit user, as a designer, as an engineer designer for 8 years. And I had the opportunity to work as a BIM CAD manager for 1 year, and the approach is totally different. So you should have one person for one particular task. You don't have to know everything about the program. As we are reading here, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find it when you need it. So if you look the correct person for solving your question, for helping you in the transition, you will be doing a better job with the transition. Tip number 5, start small and think big. You are learning about new processes and software as you work. A tight schedule places unwanted pressure on the project. Revit will save you plenty of time once you understand its ins and outs. But you have to grasp it all its things first. Combining a big project with a step learning curve is a recipe for disaster. So let your first of all select the correct project for starting. Let your client know that you are in a transition and the benefits you are expecting with that fact. Select a small project and be sure the schedule have a loose deadline. As your team develops its conceptual understanding, scale your projects upwards. So you should know that your team will not be in the same level all the time. So they are going to improve their skills. So you also have to understand that you will have the possibility to scale your projects upwards. The tip number 5, understand your project. You can dip straight into Revit and start a project without organizing your team first. It is not about creating a basic model and working from it. Come up with an answer for each question, then inform everybody on your team, and you must be on the same page from the start of the project. It's no use getting started and then introducing new stakeholders in the same way you could with an AutoCAD model. Switching from AutoCAD to Revit means changing your workflow. You must adapt to this just like you adapt to the difference between the software packages. So, how big is your project? Assign roles and tasks and make sure everyone is clear about what they have to do. Be sure you are covered with your team and their knowledge. There is something that you don't know how to do, and set an internal timeline. So don't match the client timeline with yours. Be sure that you have time to review before sending the information, the model, and or the documentation or the construction documentation to your client. So establish a goal, make a plan, and then take action. Tip number 7, make your Revit work for you. One of the big benefits of the AEC collection is that Autodesk has enrolled in a host of tools and services that make the software better work for you. You can download previous releases of the Autodesk software, which is a useful option if you are working with project files created in an earlier version. You also have access to help, including senior Autodesk support specialists, community support forums, e-learning opportunities, and more. And super important, identify the things are always necessary on your project and create templates. With this, you can define all your company standards, what will be your starting point from new models. So this is used to define custom features to enforce Office standards. And then the last tip, update your computer equipment. This is the tip number 8. So this could sound like a disadvantage, because you may need to update your computer hardware to ease the transition to Revit. It is a more complex software package, so it requires greater processing power to run smoothly. So bear in mind that these are the minimum requirements to run Revit. Ideally, your system will exceed this requirement to ensure Revit runs as smoothly as possible. As a very general rule, a computer that can run modern video games is well suited to running Revit. So consider changing or updating your hardware in your budget as a very important part of the transition. We have some facts. I think this is the biggest one. When you get it, you will never look back. For sure, I can assure that. Once you know how Revit works, you will see how marvelous it is. And you will be encouraged to explore it and take advantage of it. So let's go with this one. So in AutoCAD you draw, in Revit you model. In simple terms, when using CAD for building design, you focus on creating drawings. When using BIM, you focus on creating a building model, and then the drawings can be generated from the model. AutoCAD focuses on the individual components of a project, but Revit considers the project as a whole, giving architects and AEC clients the advantage of considering the design as indivisible. With BIM, most of the time is spent in the early design phase. This is different than in AutoCAD. And while this happens, the amount of time generating the construction documents is reduced. Adopting the change is more than learn a new software. And it involves to adopt BIM and change the way you work on your projects. The next one, the effects of adopting BIM are not immediate. The first model for sure will take longer for you than doing it in AutoCAD. But once you go over the learning curve, all are gains. You will be set. The next one, for doing the movement, the investments will be time, patience, training, and better hardware. So you don't have to have money only. You have to take into account that you will need to have patience, time, provide training, and invest on a better hardware. And the last one, instead of seeing the change as an issue, think of it as a challenge that will contribute to reducing production and cost by allowing us to make an initial planning that is more structured and closer to reality. And it also allows collaborating among many people even without being on site or on the same site, leaving much less room for mistakes and improving the execution time. So, as you can see, there are many reasons to make this change. And I could spend a whole year describing my experience with Revit and the advantages and facilities which it comes. But the main purpose was open your mind with a small overview of all the things Revit is capable to do. The complexity of an AEC project demands tools capable of managing large volumes of information, as well as responding to the competitive needs of each client. It should also be taken in mind that the use of BIM will end up being mandatory, especially in those public works and infrastructures where this methodology is successfully applied. The more you know it, the better benefit you will give it. And for me, it just simply means time. Less time, better production, means saving money, which at the end is the purpose of any business or company. So thank you so much for joining us. I will also like to share with you our upcoming webinars and courses. This one is related with the topic we are offering. So if you want to get more information, please contact Juliana Mejia, who is our beautiful marketing and sales person, or your rep. I am showing all contact information here. And now we have some time for questions. If you have any, you can submit them in the chat. And if you have any other question that come up after the fact, you can contact one of our local reps or Juliana as well.
Thank you, Andrea, for that beautiful presentation. That was amazing. I have a question here from Brian Leonard who says, are existing AutoCAD drawing and template files seamlessly importable into Revit?
And no, the answer is no. Revit works very different. So, but it can be the opposite. You can take all your drawing templates, you can export it to AutoCAD. The only thing I can think about it is probably you have worked or you have invested too much time doing details in AutoCAD because it's a thing I have done. So I had taken the time for drawing details in CAD, but I haven't lost that job. You can export those details and make them Revit details, but that's the only thing I can think about it for the moment. Um, the other the other features, no. You just have to
Thank
create a similar template in Revit that match your AutoCAD standards or templates, and you just have to do it once because you are going to establish a template for that. So it has to be done once.
Okay, thank you, Andre. Next questions. Are AutoCAD and Revit directly competing for software?
Um, no, since AutoCAD and Revit are both from Autodesk, they are not directly competing for products. Autodesk likes to refer to them as complementary to each other since they cover a lot of the same ground, but enhance each other usefulness. For example, if you're working with a client that is not using an architectural model for doing his design, you can export your architectural background into Revit and use it for reference and add your discipline on it. So they are complementary. And as I told you, you also can take your details from there and convert it into Revit files. So there are some interoperability between both.
Thank you. And next question says, can I customize either of these programs?
Yeah, for sure. AutoCAD is the most customizable out of the two. It features a custom user interface editor, which means you can have the interface the way you want it by displaying hiding tools as you wish. Um, Revit is cleaner, so all you can do is just moving your windows around, but you will always have the same turn them on and turning off. But it is much cleaner, so yeah, AutoCAD is more customizable than Revit, but you can do it
Mm,
with both.
perfect. And I think those were all the questions. As a reminder, if you want to learn these topics in detail, you can always take a custom training with Andrea or someone else on our team. We also offer group classes online. So be sure to be checking the MicroCAD website for future webinars. And that concluded our webinar today. Thank you everyone for attending. Have a great day. Thank you, Andrea. That was
Thank you,
amazing.
Juliana. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye bye.